Jon, you were incredibly excited about the record, and I didn't really understand what you were on about making a record with Razor Beezer and Astaire and Jess B. But this is the new Adults project.
That's right.
Where has this come from?
So basically, it actually stems from the first Adults project and the fact that I met, at that time in Auckland, I met my now wife, who happened to be a daughter of a Sudanese UN diplomat who was finishing her last year at the College of Chiropractic in Mount Wellington. Totally fell in love with her. My best friend, who just happened to be Sudanese. 5 years later, I'm in Khartoum marrying her. Traditional Sudanese wedding. On day 3 of that wedding, I'm one man in a room full of 300 Sudanese women, where my wife is doing a traditional Sudanese bridal dance to music that's even played, even the band's females, the group are females. They actually teach these women how to dance at their wedding and then perform at the wedding. And I'm basically on stage going, I hope I can dance to this music. And luckily, it sounded like a brand new MIA track that I hadn't heard. And I went, I'm dancing to this music. And my wife was doing this amazing dance. And I was like, I can't believe how good this music is. What is it? And it was this music called Aghani al-Banat, which literally translates to girls' music. It's only allowed to be performed by a woman. It's only allowed to be written by a woman in a Muslim country. And it's just this insane story. How did I get here? And why do I love this music that's totally different from a different world, but yet to me sounds like a new Beyonce track if she got the right producer. And it's what's even cool about it. It's like I even noticed, because I married Dana is like a university educated woman, very worldly, still very Sudanese, but there's a real class system over there, man. Like it's. And she comes from the intelligentsia, who basically did a big runner when the army took over in the 80s, and they got rid of all the bureaucrats because they weren't mates, and a lot of them got schooled overseas, and she's part of that generation, so they're living outside of their own country. Anyway, but we still go back, and anyway, we went there, and I was going, wow, these musicians are amazing, but and we're so stoked that we've got her, because this is a woman called Gisma, who's a fucking rock star in that country. Wow, you got Gisma playing at your wedding. I didn't know who she was. And it turns out that, yeah, the music comes from basically when the British colonised, after the Turkish colonised Sudan, they abolished slavery. And so a lot of the slave class had no jobs, went to the big cities, in this case Khartoum, set up their own suburbs, blah, blah, blah. That was the music that they played. And then that became co-opted by the upper class as the sound of Sudan later on. So now it's Aghani al-Banat to a Sudanese person is the sound of Sudan, but originally it was the sound of the working lower class, and only female, which in an Islamic country is out of it because especially that government, because they're the army and they're using Islam, like a lot of those sort of oppressive regimes, they're using it to keep people under control. They control the media, they control what gets played on radio, what gets played on TV. There's only 2 stations. And Aghani al-Banat doesn't fit what their idea of a perfect, acceptable Muslim female, Sudanese female, should act and behave like. So they don't get played on radio, but it means that they can say things that the girls that do get played on radio can't. Okay. So there's a lot to unpack here.
So basically, you married a Sudanese woman.
Yes.
You went to Sudan.
Yes.
You went full Sudan by the sound of it.
It
had quite a big effect on you.
Well, I mean, I just was like, I'm not losing my best mate. So whatever it takes to marry this person, we were going to have a Sudanese wedding. She is Sudanese.
What did you have to sacrifice in order to be able to do that? Sorry.
I didn't have to sacrifice anything, but I did have to do some stuff that I would have found extremely intimidating before I fell in love with this woman, i.e. like holding the hand of an 86-year-old uncle who didn't speak a word of English in the oldest mosque in Khartoum, where the blue and the white Nile meet, with all the papers, Sudanese national papers there, because we'd got rid of the traditional marriage contract and got him to do a updated version where it was equal rights for men and women. So then all the newspapers were there and wanted to see what this cracker was doing, basically. So
Hang on. So you married a Sudanese woman, and you had a different type of marriage than is normally done in Sudan.
The marriage contract we updated. We got a
and other people in Sudan don't tend to do that. Nor you were the first, or
there was a precedent, but it hadn't been done so publicly. And I think because I was a rock star from New Zealand on the other side of the planet, it was like, oh, what is happening here?
Yes.
So they all turned up. We were on the front pages of both main newspapers the next day. They debated it on television for about a week. Is this correct Islamically? Is it incorrect? I tell you what, a lot of females were very happy about it because the traditional marriage contract means that if a woman is unhappy in a marriage, she can't divorce the man until he gives permission. Whereas our one was like, oh, if Dana's sick of me, she can just get rid of me, which is fair enough, like, and that was the big difference, really.
Female empowerment is a huge theme on this album and in your life of the last few years.
Well, I mean, but being brought up in Wellington, New Zealand, you can't get away with being a dick about being a boy anyway.
Sure.
Like, I don't come from that world. So it all fits with how I was brought up anyway, like...
But, yeah, no, I'm not saying that it's a change for you or you used to be different. I'm saying it's a really strong theme on this album.
It is, and in fact...
And the music's made by women and only supposed to be made by women. Did you have to get...
I had to, like...
Did you have to get permission?
I think at first they thought I was joking when I was, like, going, I love what you do. Because I think a lot of males maybe just go, well, that's their thing, in Sudan. That's their thing. That's cool. I don't mind it. But it's not their main interests, There's other forms of music. But for me, I was like, this sounds like music I would listen to, like, personally. It's almost quite punk in the fact that it's only rhythm instruments and vocals, no musical instruments. So there's all this space. So, and also reminiscent of rap, and hip-hop, because it's sort of like beats and vocals.
And so you were inspired by this music. You liked this music. You knew that you wanted to undertake a musical project of some kind.
What I wanted to do was I could, because of the way the music was set up, all I wanted to do, and it was only for me personally, this is what it started out, I wanted to stick a fucking punk rock bass line in with that hook that I just heard and see what it sounded like. Just out of curiosity. Musical curiosity. I could hear bass lines and I could hear guitar lines while they were playing. I was like, man, that sounds amazing. Like,
how did you go getting permissions and getting your work checked by the Khartoum Sudanese women musicians?
By literally flying back over there.
No, I mean, how did it go?
It was
nerve-wracking a little.
Nerve-wracking beyond belief.
Yeah.
Not only, I'm going in there with this naive energy of like going, I hear all this music, but they're doing something that's been done for a long time, which has schools and blah, blah, blah. And, Gisma, who's a rock star that I ended up recording with, did her, not internship, but like her schooling with this woman called Haja Tugdaga, which in Tugdaga is the sound of the drum that they play. But she's famous as being the first Aghani al-Banat because she was the one saying when the British were still there, she was writing songs of like to rouse the Sudanese men to stand up against the colonizers. And so she was like an integral part of Sudanese history, like a rebel, so Gisma, schooled under her. So she's really important because she knows the history of the music. So, man, I was shitting my pants, like I was literally going, I hope she likes this music because I've put everything into it and I've tried to, I've done it respectfully, well, what I thought was respectfully, and I've done it to the best of my abilities, But anyway, I was there for a month or three or 4 weeks. We were calling her, couldn't get hold of her, calling her, couldn't get hold of her. It's like, man, I hope we can get hold of her, man. It's like, and then finally on the last day, she turns up at our house and goes, play me it while she's on the phone like a rock star, totally. Yeah, it's pretty good. Play the Aradna one. yeah, deals. And then I played a Haja, which is basically a reworking of a classic Sudanese song that they did a cover of. And she went, that is awesome. And I was like, oh, thank God. You know, like, and it was from there, it was like, can we play this live together? And she was like, absolutely, we can play it live together, but we can't do it in Sudan. Because of the cultural, you know, and because I'm a guy and she's...
So will that happen? Did that happen?
She was like, I would love to do that, but that's something she said we could probably do it in Dubai, but not Sudan.